What if the price of gold hitting $10,000 could directly cause XRP to explode to $30? That's the incredible connection a top market strategist is making right now. A former distressed credit analyst known as Mr. VIX just published a bold macroeconomic forecast. He predicts that if gold surges to $10,000, a triple from its current price, it would trigger a massive liquidity pump that sends XRP to $30, Bitcoin to $500,000, and Ethereum to $40,000. This isn't just a random guess. It's a thesis built on current actions from the U.S. Federal Reserve and the fear of rising inflation. But can the fate of a digital asset really be tied to a precious metal that's been a safe haven for centuries? Let's dive into the logic. The entire prediction hinges on one major event: the Federal Reserve's first interest rate cut of the year, which lowered the benchmark rate to a range of 4.00% to 4.25%. This move signals that the Fed is starting to loosen its monetary policy, effectively making more money available in the economy. But the story gets more interesting. Newly appointed Fed Governor Stephen Miron actually dissented, arguing for a much larger 0.5% cut. Miron, seen as an ally of President Trump, believes the U.S. economy needs faster rate reductions to stimulate growth. This aggressive stance has sparked concern among some financial commentators. A widely followed analyst named Alessio sarcastically dubbed this potential path Project Venezuela, a grim joke comparing it to the hyperinflation that crippled Venezuela. The theory is that if the Fed pumps too much cheap money into the system, it could devalue the dollar and send investors scrambling for inflation-proof assets. But making a direct link between gold and crypto prices is a big leap. This is where Mr. VIX's expertise comes in. He argues that in an environment of aggressive monetary easing and rising inflation, cryptocurrencies and precious metals are likely to outperform equities. His specific predictions are staggering. Asterisk gold rising from $3,687 to $10,000. Asterisk Bitcoin rising from $116 for $87 to $500,000. Asterisk Ethereum jumping from $4,500 to $40,000. Asterisk and XRP rallying from $3.02 to $30. For XRP, that's a clean 10x. His rationale is that all these assets are hedges against a weakening dollar and would benefit from the same macro tide of liquidity. Therefore, if this macro thesis plays out, it could provide a powerful rising tide that lifts all boats in the crypto space, including XRP. However, it's crucial to remember that this is just one analyst's macro view. XRP's price is influenced by its own unique set of factors. For a true, sustained rally, it needs more than just a favorable macro environment. It needs adoption and utility. This is where other analysts focus their predictions. For instance, the founders of the educational app EZA, Dom and Phil Kwok, continue to emphasize a long-term $1,000 price target for XRP by 2030. Dom points to institutional capital as a key driver, noting that hedge funds are preparing to invest in altcoins beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum. Phil highlights a positive feedback loop. XRP's price gains attract developers who build applications that drive user growth, which in turn creates more value and fuels further price appreciation. So, we have two very different types of predictions. One based on macroeconomics, Mr. VIX, and one based on organic adoption and utility, EZA founders. This is the critical conflict for any investor. Mr. VIX's $30 target is exciting and could happen relatively quickly if his macro thesis is correct. It would make every XRP holder very happy. But the path to $1,000 is slower, harder, and depends on the XRP ledger proving its real-world worth by becoming a fundamental piece of global financial infrastructure for payments, CBDCs, and tokenization. Therefore, the most likely scenario is that both factors will play a role. A macro liquidity surge, as Mr. VIX predicts, could provide the initial rocket fuel for a sharp price increase. But for XRP to hold those gains and climb into the triple digits, it will need to deliver on its promise of utility through partnerships with major banks, successful CBDC pilots, and a thriving ecosystem of developers building on the ledger. For now, Mr. VIX gives us a fascinating, macro-driven reason to be optimistic. But as always, it's wise to look at the whole picture. The real magic for XRP will happen at the intersection of a favorable macro environment and undeniable real-world adoption.